We'll start with a little prayer. All the years combine, they melt into a dream. A broken angel sings from a guitar. In the end, there's just a song, comes crying like the night, through all the broken dreams and vanished years. Stella Blue. When all the cards are down, there's nothing left to see. There's just the pavement left and broken dreams. In the end, there's still that song, comes crying like the wind, down every lonely street that's ever been. Stella Blue. I've stayed in every blue light cheap hotel, can't win for trying. Dust off those rusty strings just one more time, gonna make 'em shine. It all rolls into one, and nothing comes for free. There's nothing you can hold for very long. And when you hear that song, come crying like the wind, it seems like all this life was just a dream. Stella Blue. Lyrics by Robert Hunter. Music by Jerry Garcia. Classic. Bob Dylan covered that the other night.
Is that why you've been thinking about it?
Yeah. I mean, he's been adding in a Grateful Dead song here and there over the course of his tour. Like, he plays 17 songs every night, and they're the same songs, and there's one slot in the set that gets swapped out, and he's been playing Grateful Dead covers in there. And I heard a bootleg recording, and in the comments, someone put the lyrics, and goddamn.
No, you were like, find the lyrics to Stella Blue, and I like read them for a second. I almost started crying, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, it really gets me.
They're so crazy. It kind of just, what does it make you think?
It's just one of those, like, I don't know. In the end, there's just a song.
Yeah.
That's, like, to me, the line of the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because our life is kind of an album, you know?
It is.
And you think it's all these other things, but it's really, like, more at the end of it. It's not where the bass dropped. It's, like, the whole picture, the whole...
Some people's life is like a concept album, and it's very organized, and they know what they're going to do and how to fucking shape the whole thing. Some people's it's like a greatest hits album. Some people, it's fucking all over the goddamn place.
Some it's the blues, some it's country, some it's a little chaotic, some of it's like Lou Reed's metal album.
It's just feedback and static. That's pretty cool. That would be pretty fucking cool. What is your life? What album is your life?
I don't know. I'm still finding out.
It doesn't have to be a perfect answer. Just think about that. And if anyone thinks about that at home, drop it in the comments, because I'm very curious to hear that.
Okay.
I'll think about it for a second.
I mean, I almost have to like give songs. Like, it starts off like classic and like poppy and rock and roll, you know, like, but then it gets to like super poppy, like girl pop.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets like a little mellow college rock vibe. Or no, maybe there's some, I don't know, man.
I'm asking for you an album that already exists. If you just had to say, like, yeah, that's the album that sums up my life. That's the soundtrack to my life.
I probably haven't listened to enough albums to answer this question.
I've listened to too many to answer it.
Well, okay, if you had to.
If I had to just pick one that really feels like it represents the arc of my life thus far, I would say All Things Must Pass by George Harrison.
It's a good one. I'll do that one too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's got a little bit of everything in there.
Wah, wah.
Yeah. Well, I don't need your wah wah.
And isn't it a pity? Oh man, it is one of those albums though that I listen to now, and I'm like, it's so definitive of when we started first doing mushrooms that it kind of like brings me back there. And first doing acid, and kind of like, it was like during every trip we had to play that album.
Yeah, there's not many albums like that where you can just throw it on, take a bunch of psychedelics, and trust that it'll bring you to that place and not into the weird place. Mm-hmm. So I literally don't even know how many times we've done this. Pop a bunch of mushrooms, throw on All Things Must Pass, cry for an hour and a half, maybe even play it again.
Do some eye gazing.
Do some eye gazing. This is old school when we first discovered psychedelics. Maybe like the first 4 or 5 years of psychedelics. That would be the plan. Like rent an Airbnb or come up here to your dad's house, take a bunch of mushrooms, throw on All Things Must Pass. This is before we knew the Grateful Dead.
Yeah.
Do some crying, do some eye gazing, do a little bit of exploring maybe, and then when the mushrooms start wearing off, we listen to Ram Dass lectures.
Yeah.
Which, I think we did it right. I think we set up a nice structure for how to get through those things because we didn't have an us to turn to when we discovered all this stuff. You ever think about that?
Like...
I don't know. Like, we just know so many people that are like, oh, my God, you helped me, find mushrooms or get in touch with the person that hooked me up or set me up with a retreat or whatever. Like, we knew nothing.
Oh, right, yeah.
We had no connections in the psychedelic or spiritual realm. So we kind of just had to sit back and wait till they dropped into our laps. But then the first time we got mushrooms, remember this? A chick came over to our house.
Yeah, we've told this story before, but it's a good one.
Yeah, who we've never seen before or since.
We've seen her since.
Have we?
Yeah.
Who is she? I can't. We'll have to.
Oh! I thought you were saying when we did the mushrooms.
No. I'm talking about the
first
first time we procured mushrooms. How we got them.
No, the first time our buddy Jake gave them to us.
Yes, I'm saying he gave them to us. I'm saying the first time we were like, let's try to get mushrooms. I don't even know how we found this person or who she was, but some lady came over to our apartment.
She was cool.
And she could tell we were new to this. And like we had one experience and she was like, well, what was your takeaway? I was like, I can't eat animals anymore. Like, I got to be nice to my family. Like, I'm trying to get my life together. And she could see like we were kind of on the cusp of like being pulled towards that whole world. And she's like, well, this stuff isn't a joke. Like, she's like, the stuff you guys are messing with, this isn't like other drugs. This isn't like, she explained to us the importance and made us watch Graham Hancock's, what's the name of his band, TED Talk?
Something consciousness.
The War on Consciousness.
Yeah.
It's like this 18-minute thing, highly recommend. So she made us sit there and watch that before we could even get the mushrooms from her. And she was so serious about it and the karma of mushrooms and not to mess with these things, not to sell these things, like all this stuff. And like, I think she was a very important figure, albeit for a half hour of our life, to show us to have reverence for something, because I don't think that's baked into...
Well, whether or not someone shows you, the mushrooms will show you.
Well, yeah, but it was nice. It was nice to be like, okay, cool, now we know Graham Hancock.
Well,
okay, there's somewhere to start.
Even the first time you did it, or that we did it, you definitely got the reference download because it was kicking your ass. And
yeah, I knew I needed to respect these things, but I don't know if I needed to revere them.
Yeah.
Quite just yet.
I was just like loving the colors and fucking vibing.
Oh, I mean, it's crazy. It like in my experience, seeing how mushrooms affect women and men, it's and this is just in my experience.
This is a broad generalization.
It's a very broad generalization, but man, the girls always seem to be having a good time during the come up, and the boys are usually like.
I always find myself sitting like this, like in the earth, like, just getting low and just like kind of like, I don't know, it feels like womb connecting to the earth, like just feels like I am woman,
Well, it's crazy because that's the position you would get in to give birth, and what happens to me when I take them is I go into like an embryonic phase, like go embryonic, and then I go like fetal, and then I graduate to infant and then toddler, and then I can finally walk again. But the process takes hours, where it's like you just squat down and fucking give birth to your new experience. I'm like, it's like happening to me. I'm like, oh God, please, I'll be good. Remember we did one and I was like we had too many people over. Like, that was a bad call. We had a bunch of people over and we took some mushrooms. It was our first time lemon teching. And they were hitting me and I was trying to like get away from everybody. And like, I don't know, you said some offhanded thing about just how I wasn't like the best boyfriend or whatever.
Oh yeah, you were like.
And I was just like, what the fuck? And I was just like hiding and I could hear everyone talking and I was just like in there like.
I did take the opportunity to be like, you were a real son of a bitch today.
Yeah.
And that was not thoughtful of me. but I was going through it too, and I was like purging.
No, it was good because you transferred the energy back to me where it belonged. But it just happened to be.
It's kind of like you laid some shit on me today, and you're about to take it back because.
And I did, and you just put it in me like a little seedling, and it just fucking grew and just blew apart my current existence, and I was just like alone for like an hour and a half, like just living in like fucking shame chamber cycle.
Yeah, no, it wasn't appropriate, but it was something we had to talk about. I think do you want to just talk about what it was?
Yeah, I don't even remember.
I remember.
This is a year and a half ago.
You were like whiling it out about how we're living in your parents' basement and blaming it on me, like it was my fault, like my responsibility. And I was like, and then I just, just whiling out, and then you were on mushrooms and so was I, and I was like, that was really not nice. And if you really believe that, we have some real issues, because that's a huge burden of responsibility you're putting on me, that like I'm responsible for your life and our life solely,
Well, I think, I'm not going to even get in an argument with you about it, but
I don't want
that was our first week living there.
Yeah.
To take mushrooms was crazy. You know what I mean? Yeah. During like that kind of transition. But at the same time, I do think it helped me. I needed to burn that out. Like, did you really want that wild thought I had about that to last this long and come out in some other way? Like,
no.
It came out like right away. As soon as we got there, I was kind of like, this was our only option? We have money. Get us an apartment. What the fuck? This was our only option? This is insane. Your parents have 2 houses. Like, we're with lunatics right now? Like, we need to, what the hell? So I think, and that kind of thing, it can get my anger going. And then to take psychedelics post like anger blowout for me when I went gremlin mode.
Dude, when we did it too, the soma. When we did mushrooms and Syrian rue, we had a blowout earlier that day.
We did?
Mm-hmm. Or the day before or whatever. Like, blowout.
Yeah.
And I remember like vomiting and and then after it I was like, I was vomiting out your shit.
Oh, come on.
I was though. I was. It's still my shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm vomiting out your anger right now. Like, I just had this like, it's just awareness of like, I'm vomiting out your anger. Like I processed it and I'm processing it. I'm vomiting it out now.
Yeah. And that mushroom trip was a year previous to the one we were just referencing. And it was right after Mare had broken up with us for the first time.
Right.
Yeah. My fits of rage aren't, they're not apropos of nothing. It's usually something is like volcanic is happening below the surface, and I'm not aware about it. And then even the putting psychedelics on the calendar, or like, we're taking them later today, or we're going to drive down to the ceremony or whatever, makes it all spill out.
It's funny.
Do you know what I mean? It's weird. It's like I have a purge before we take them.
No, in the time before we did Toad, you like totally purged out on me about like, what do you need, Cass? Like, why do you need to keep pushing it this far? Like,
why did we sign up for this? Like, what are you doing? Like, what,
Yeah.
Because you're the only person in my life. Like, I'm doing this with you.
And it's easy to like, if there's anyone to put blame on or make responsible for however you're feeling, it's me, because I'm like as close to you as anyone.
Well, and it's also compounded by me being embarrassed that I'm scared. Because I can't even admit that to myself. It doesn't seem like I'm scared. It just feels like I'm angry. And it feels like I have a real point with you.
Yeah, a real person who, if I could absorb your point, you could feel safe.
Yeah. But usually when you do, you're like, okay, no, we don't have to do that or whatever. Then when it puts it back on me, and I'm like, okay, what do I want to do? Like, this actually isn't Cass's thing. But the same thing happened. The weird thing was with the Toad and ayahuasca, which we did for the first time in the same weekend. Like, I didn't even think about it. We had put it on the calendar like 3 months before, and I didn't think about it. And then like 3 weeks before, it started to dawn on me what we were about to do, and like the chemical portal that we were about to open. And
it's a lot of unknown.
It's a lot of unknown. Like, I was already grooving. I'm like, I know how to handle DMT. I know how to handle mushrooms.
Ego fucking
I can handle weed. Yeah, exactly. My ego knows about these things. It doesn't know about that. And it started just freaking out. Like, I would wake up in the middle of the night scared.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember that?
Before it, yeah.
Yeah, before it. I'm saying leading up, I was having Toad activations before this chemical had ever entered my body. Yeah. So the chemical portal is way wider than just when you actually physically take it.
No, it feels like when you decide to take something, it starts to affect you.
Yeah, and this is what I'm saying about those mushroom trips. It's like stuff that was just like low simmering on a low temperature on the back burner of my psyche. And then just putting these things out there, my body knowing what's coming, my ego knowing what's coming.
Yeah.
It's like the heat gets turned up to like almost burn that stuff out before we even go in there. I used to have it with Mare. We'd get in blowout fights like the morning we were going to take Molly that afternoon.
Yeah. No, it's funny too.
And I'm like, also it's not just me because her ego would react the same way.
No, you guys definitely
we know
were
we're
doing
going
a
to the land
dance.
of forgiveness. It's like let's have something to forgive each other for, I guess.
Totally. No, I feel like we've been doing this podcast 7 years or something, like 9 years. I feel like we've had like it's like, okay, Sean gets mad. Like it's kind of been this like story.
Yeah,
That's
no,
like,
it's cute because the reckoning will happen when you realize you're an angry person too.
I am. But of course I am.
I know. I'm joking.
But I do feel like, I don't know if it's this Venus retrograde or whatever it is, and we haven't had too many blow-up fights since, but I do feel like, I felt like, damn, we both kind of just like, at least I did, I hit a wall. And I was like, I hit a wall. Like, I'm bored with how we interface with each other in like these bouts of whatever. Like, it's getting old. I'm tired of talking about it. I'm tired of experiencing it. I understand like we're going to have anger, and I'm not saying we can't be angry with each other, express that, but like the way we go through the territory is like, I can't do it like this anymore. And I don't know. I felt a real shift by affirming
you gave
that.
me an ultimatum.
See, I don't think of it as like that. It is kind of an ultimatum, I guess. And so that must be uncomfortable for you to feel like you have an ultimatum.
It's just made me behave in a way, you know.
And how has behaving felt? Has it felt constricting or
It feels rewarding because I, have your respect, but there's a part of me that is like, chill, like, but I should get used to that. I should, there should be filters. There should be things that like are just for me.
Yeah.
So
what happened is like we dropped Joey off to the airport, right? And you and I had been in a couple gnarly fights like towards the end of that last leg.
Yeah.
Right. And you guys heard it on the last podcast, if you listen to that one, where we got in like fights about the fucking car and me running over the thing, and then you being like, it's okay or whatever. But like, I think I hit the wall of realizing how, like, it's almost like I can't need you to change. Like, I wasn't like, you need to change. And that's where I want to kind of like unpack this with you, because I wasn't like, I mean, I am saying you need to change it kind of. I could see how it comes off like an ultimatum, but the way I want to process it and the way that works for me to process it is not like, oh, I will suffer if Sean keeps behaving like this or whatever. It's like, we've been doing this thing for 12 years. Like, I am bored with it, and I think you are too. But more like, my point was, I'm no longer going to respond to you the way I have. Like, I don't have control over how you behave or how you feel or what you say. Like, I can't change that. I can't control it. I can't even pretend to want to, and I can't suffer if you don't change. Like, I'm not going to do that. But what I've kind of hit the wall was like, oh, I do this thing where, not that I don't want to apologize to you and make you feel heard, but I feel like I take it on, like when you're in this like mode of like suffering, I take it on and I'm like, I'll cry and apologize and say I'm sorry and try to coddle you and try to like take on the emotional burden that you are processing. And I think I just hit a wall where I was just like, oh, I'm not helping you anymore by doing that.
Yeah.
By thinking, oh, if I just say I'm sorry in the right way, Sean will feel better. Because after apologizing for the car thing for 3 days and realizing it didn't actually make you feel better, that you just like were burning out energy, I was like, oh, I'm not helping you. You thinking that if I do something, say sorry, do something a certain way enough times, that you'll then like release your suffering. And more, I was just like, okay, I'm just going to let you suffer. What do you think of that?
That's fine. I accept.
I feel bad though, because I don't want you to suffer, and I want to help you, but like just realizing like I can't help you, like it's an inside job, like there's like a burden of what did I keep calling it? Like emotional processing, or what is it called? Self-soothing.
Emotional masturbation.
Emotional masturbation. No, I had like a way that I like was thinking about what happens. But basically, just I don't know. It does this. I feel like I'm not talking well.
What do you mean? You're being extremely clear. You know, that's why I feel like we actually get somewhere in terms of evolving and not just repeating the same patterns when we talk about this stuff. Not in the heat of a battle that we're in.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And I appreciate the reminder and the ultimatum and all that stuff, and like, because I do good with that, you know that. It's like, just put a little box around me and I'll show you, like, put a little box of like, oh, you're an angry person who, you know, whatever, and I'm like, I'll show you the opposite. Like, I contain multitudes.
And I know that.
And yeah, I
of
think
course I know that.
Yeah. And well, what I'm saying is I appreciate everything that you laid out there, so I could do something about it. And had it happened when we're in the heat of battle, I might not have been able to even hear it.
Yeah.
Because when I'm in gremlin mode, like, you're just dealing with it. You're like, gremlin mode me doesn't like integrate well to this person.
Yeah.
So we have to talk about it when I'm not in gremlin mode.
So I think what happens is, like, I want to be the problem, and I want to be able to do something to make things better. And I think I just hit the wall where I was like, I'm not helping you. Like, you're missing the opportunity to evolve. Not that you don't evolve in so many ways, but in this particular pattern that we're in, like, I'm not allowing you the opportunity to take like responsibility for like, what the fuck? I had like the best way of putting it.
Don't worry about your best way in the past. Okay. This is a new moment.
Yeah.
Just put it however you want. Who gives a fuck what you thought about before?
Yeah. Well, I think we all just have to self-soothe, is like ultimately, like, figure out our own self-soothing techniques.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm just not going to take it on in the same way. Like, in the sense of, like, I'm not going to think that I'm your answer. Like, I used to think, like, if I could only just behave in a certain way, Sean could be happy. I don't know.
I never made that a thing. You realize that,
no,
right?
I know.
Okay.
You don't make that a thing.
When you start going to therapy, you'll talk about your childhood, and they'll say your dad made that a thing in your life.
Yeah.
You know, like I say about alcoholic families, there's roles.
Yeah.
The scapegoat's one of them. You're an only child. You played all the roles.
Yeah.
So it's one of the things that got imbued on you from your childhood. And your dad's not a bad guy.
No, definitely not.
I'm not a bad guy.
Definitely not.
So, but that is a tendency. And there's not a lot of people out there like you. So, I try not to, when I see you taking that shit on, let you take it on. You know, that's why I'm very apologetic, and we talk about stuff and we try to hash shit out the best we can. But I think that things like moments where things come to a head or whatever, when you think about the context of them, I think it would help. Because, you know, when I hear like you say like ultimatums and this and that, I'm like, you're being flagrantly myopic about my life right now. You're getting confused about, like, and I don't know if we need to compartmentalize this more or integrate it more, but there is the relationship we have as creative entities that are trying to make art together and run a business together, and then there's our relationship.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when we're out on the road with Joey for 2 weeks and we're trying to get jacked up and have the energy to go out there and keep each other laughing and this and that, yeah, it's boys' time. It's, you know, you're not used to that. I am used to girls' time.
Yeah.
I'm very used to it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you're not used to the level of joking around that we're doing all the time. Just like I wasn't used to being picked apart astrologically every other fucking day and told how I'm going to behave next month and what's going to happen to me. You know, that's its own fucking way of like fucking with somebody.
Totally.
So we go out on the road for 2 weeks. You're just in boys club and it's driving you crazy. But I'm also trying to make a film, and the pressure of the world is on me to be the leader of the film, that comes up with the ideas of how we shoot and what we shoot every day and when we shoot it. And it's a lot of pressure. And, yeah, I just need to be better about handling the pressure of that, you know, and it comes out on you because you're the person closest to me, you know. I can't take this shit out on Joey. That would be so inappropriate. He's helping us make something. So I try to talk to you about it, and you don't get the best side of me. And there's no excuses. There's a million excuses, but there's none, you know. It's just we want to relate better, and we're going to do what we have to do to figure out how to do that. And you hit some sort of wall, and, you know, my point at the time when you were kind of laying it out on me was like, give this a couple days. I haven't run. I haven't meditated. I haven't had a day where I can get up and lift weights because Joey's been out in the living room. You know what I mean? I'm like, just give me a few days to get back in my routine, and I promise you I'll be a better version of myself. And where I get upset is that happens, and we never talk about it. You know, it's like, I'm like, hey, I can get back to that. Trust me, I was just spread thin. Yeah. In a lot of ways that might not be immediately apparent to you when you're just spying on my life or whatever. So I'm like, give me some fucking time to get my shit back in order. I heard you. And then it's like smooth sailing, and then I never hear about it again. Well, and I say that to you, and you're like, oh, yeah, no, you're the best, whatever. But I'm like, yo, the dynamic doesn't work when I'm only being made aware of my losses. It fucking puts me in just like, I get a little paralyzed and despondent, and I start to like lose grip of the narrative, you know? Yeah. Yeah, I need some sort of validation for like trying and doing better.
I'll say even now, like I feel like part of the reason I don't have the words for it is because it feels so distant now. Like we're talking about something because for me it felt like, oh, this is a big thing, and it didn't feel to me as much of an ultimatum as more as like, hey, I'm making you aware that I'm not going to respond in the way I usually respond into nauseum, you know, as an opportunity for you to do the work that you need to do to like find your inner peace and strength, and then us talk in a way that's more like loving to each other. Yeah. But like, it's almost hard to talk about it and bring it up and try to be like, oh, that's something to excavate still, because it's like, it has been going really good between us. Mm-hmm. And I do appreciate, like, it seems stupid to even air out being mad at you about being mad because it's not
many episodes.
Well, let's just fucking restart this episode.
Oh, no, what are you talking about?
I don't want to talk about this.
What are you talking about? This is what we're doing.
I know, but it's like, I don't want it to be like you're a bad guy, because you're not. You're like someone who has at times like gets scared and takes it out on me the way sometimes I get upset and take it out on you. Like, it's kind of just like we're navigating the dynamics of like
you're helping me become a better person.
Interpersonal. You know?
Part of me wants to say, okay, cool, yeah, I failed. Go fucking try dating somebody and tell me how great every other fucking guy is and how much they have their shit together. Yeah. And while providing a life where you don't have to work. Yeah. Go fucking do the thing, and tell me you don't get in arguments and this and that. It's just it's a selective memory thing sometimes. But you know, for me, like, it's that's not. Why it comes out so much on the podcast, because you don't grasp onto like, Sean was a hero. Sean made everyone laugh. Sean made the vibe perfect. You know, like, I can't believe we did that. Like, we went and shot our friend Gabriel in West Virginia, and we drove 5 hours to get there to try to convince this guy who didn't know he was going to be in our film to be in our film because he was the inspiration for it. And we hadn't seen him in 2.5 years. And he had a baby with someone he met through our podcast, and they had the baby at home, and it was crazy, and it was just like, holy shit, we were just taking in so much, and we, through convincing, got him to be in the movie. And we're leaving there, and I'm on a high of all fucking highs. I can't believe what we just captured. I'm like, that is what the movie is. What we just got is what this movie is. Holy shit. And what are you doing? You're in the back, like, fucking texting. And I understand that. But I'm like, okay. And you know what we did? We ended up never really talking about how rad that shoot was and having that little fucking moment where we're not like, let me consult with priority one, which is my phone and people that aren't here anymore. Like, just more like, hey, this group, this little tripod of people that are going around the country trying to collect puzzle pieces for a puzzle ultimately I'm going to have to put together. If there's a moment of triumph, lean into it with me. You know what I'm saying? that broke my fucking heart. That broke my heart that we couldn't have that, like, holy shit moment. And impart that on Joey, like, hey, Joey, that's what the film is, by the way. That's exactly what we're going for, you know? And here's where that scene belongs and all that stuff. It just feels like I was like, I couldn't share in that with you because, you know, I don't know. We were elsewhere, you know? And it just feels like I just say that because I'm like, I feel like that happens a lot. And I feel like you just have very sometimes selective memories. And it's like, God damn, I'm a good boy. Like, such a fucking high percentage of our life. It's crazy. Well, especially considering the circumstances currently.
Totally. I mean, I think that's the reality of being human is like we have a negativity bias. Like I definitely do. And in those moments, yes, you definitely do. Are you kidding me? Any moment you've ever been mad at me is because you are in a state of negativity bias.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah.
You know?
I'm just saying, I generally am trying to be like a Noah type of guy in our life. Like, come on, like, you know, you don't see the beauty in this? Like, okay, cool, this thing failed, that'll just open up this. Like, what happens when we lose a job? Who's the first person being like, who gives a fuck? What's this going to allow us to do? This and that, you know? Hey, we worked hard on it. You might need to cry that we didn't win that bid, but like, hey, you know, like, I really try not to do that. It's when I'm completely fucking lost and when I feel like I've lost you. And you don't hear the narrative, or even if you do, like, it's kind of like you're so desensitized to, like, how magical, you know, filmmaking can be and all this stuff. Like, it just, like, starts to, I get, like, it's like the seeds of resentment, and they grow into anger and this and that. And, like, yeah, it's tough to be business partners, creative partners, because you're basically co-directing these things with me. And lovers, too. It's tough sometimes. But what I would argue is like 99% of the time it's not at all. It's just not as interesting to talk about for some reason. You know?
Yeah, I have to pee. Can we?
Yeah, me too. Continue.
No, I mean, I want to scrap this podcast so bad because I feel like I have some good points about why we went through that portal that we did, and I don't even have good words about it anymore. But I do, like, I live my life for you, and I like having someone to live my life for, and I wouldn't want it any other way. And I feel like you live your life for me and like living your life for me. And, like, I so badly want to make you happy, and you so badly want to make me happy that, like, our biggest moments of conflict are, like, in those moments where you think I'm not happy or I think you're not happy or whatever it is. And it's like, we both take like the burden of responsibility on different ways and don't know how to navigate it at times. And I think we're like also saying like, hey, we've been doing this 12 years. Like we want to keep doing it better. Not because I think there's some other guy that's better out there for me or another relationship.
I don't think that either. I just want you to have some context for what the world is like and how intense things are right now.
No, trust me. And that's why I'm also like, I don't see what I said as an ultimatum. Like, you are going to be upset. Like, I'm going to be upset. You will be stressed. You will be sad. I at no point ever want you to not show me or share with me what you're going through or feel like you don't have the safety to, like, express yourself.
Yeah, I'm going to either way.
Well, yeah,
you know, I mean, it comes out in one way or another. We just spend too much physical time around each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think I was just like, hey, I think I'm relating to you in a way that's stealing the opportunity for you to, like, process this where it needs to be processed, which is internally. Because it feels like, oh, you're waiting for me to maybe feel like it's like a grasp for control.
Yeah, yeah.
And I totally appreciate that I can be elsewhere, and I'm trying to be, like, more present.
Yeah. Well, I think what triggers some of this stuff into a volcanic eruption is like, because, like, I've said it to you, I've said it on this podcast, I've told people we throuple with, I'm like, I turned the keys of my life over to Cass when we first got together in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
You know, I let you do the organizing. I think you know how to better put together a schedule for our life. You handle our finances better than I could. A lot of stuff. So a lot of it is just like, she takes care of a bunch of shit that she's really good at that I'm not so good at, so I can do the thing I'm good at, which is just be creative and kind of come up with ideas and better ways to express ourselves artistically. But what drives me, what triggers these volcanic eruptions is Like, I know that's going on and I'm totally consensual to it, but like when you just hit me with like a thing that shows me we're in completely different dimensions and it just brings up all this shit to the surface and I'm like, what is this? And then all of a sudden I'm riding a wave of lava and I'm like, I don't know how to handle it. Like,
Right.
we drove by my sister's house the other day. Okay. And my brother-in-law was out on the porch and, you know, we just drove by and you were like, who was that? And I was like, Pete. You were like, I don't think so. I don't think that was Pete. And I was like, yeah, it was Pete. She was like, I don't know. It's someone that looks like almost exactly like him, but it's not him. I'm like, Cass, there's no other cars in the I was like, there's no other cars in the driveway. There's no one else around. It's the middle of the day. He's not at work. That was Pete. And like it's like startling that we can witness the same reality and you'll jump through all these fucking crazy hoops to convince yourself that like the very obvious thing isn't real. And like there's probably countless examples, but that was one the other day that I was like, Cass, are you okay? Like, are you okay? Can we, like, do you see the intellectual process you just went through to convince yourself that the thing you really saw wasn't real? Like, what the fuck? I'm like, are our finances okay? You know what I mean? I'm fucking around.
No,
like,
I appreciate.
You hopefully understand what I'm saying.
I understand, and when you get scared at me, I get scared. I'm like, do I not have it under control? And then I get mad at you. Like, well, why am I the only one who looks at our finances? Like, that's not fair.
We don't have to do it like that.
You know what I mean? So I think it just like it just hits this like cascade of shit that like comes up for both of us of like, and then I'm like, maybe I am fucking worthless and horrible at everything, and like, you know, and just I'll jump on that story just as quick, you know, and then I jump on this story of like I fuck everything up, and then my ego.
You don't fuck everything up.
My ego
by
hits
a long shot.
Hits it back, and I like that's why I then have to push harder towards you because I'm like, oh, I'm living in a reality where I do everything wrong, and then my ego's like, no, Sean's an emotional fucking wreck of a human being.
Absolutely. Sometimes, not always, but
mostly not.
Yeah.
Mostly not. But that's my ego just being like, okay, Sean's pointing out something that I don't want to necessarily look at, or a quality about me that he's.
I don't want to hear about my anger from you, and you don't want to hear about your ditziness from me. And those are like the main, like, just like right there. It's like our qualities, and they probably could be channeled into superpowers in some way, you know?
Yeah. And I think that's like the work that we are like committed to wanting to do together. And I think that's why it's like, oh, if we're hitting a pattern where it's like 10 years deep and we're still talking about the same shit. And then it's like, that is our pattern.
We're 9 years deep talking about the same shit.
Well, no, but we were talking about this before we were on the podcast. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I can't believe you've stuck with me, to tell you the truth. Like, really.
I can't believe you've stuck with me.
No, that's easy. That's been extremely easy for me. It's been the easiest thing I've done. In a way, right? Like, I was in other relationships and they just weren't firing on all cylinders to some degree.
Yeah, well, I've never questioned wanting to be, well.
You question wanting to be with me all the fucking time.
No, I don't ever question wanting to be with you. Sometimes when we get in fights, I question whether or not I'm good for you. And that's what happens.
Who gets the podcast in the breakup?
You do.
Oh, really?
100%.
So there'll be an episode where it just pops up and it's just me sitting here alone trying to fucking do it.
Or with the new whoever.
Trying to do it like Tim Dillon style. Like I just have someone off camera that's laughing at my jokes.
I love you that. You know I love you that much, though, that if I thought that I wasn't good for you, I would break up with you. You do understand that, right?
Yeah, no, I know. And same. If I thought I wasn't good for you, I wouldn't expose you to who I really am. I would try to get away with murder for as long as I could. But, you know, you've spent so much time around me. You know who I am. You know what I'm really like.
And then
you know how I can get when certain things just fucking coagulate and attack.
You're not even yourself, though. That's the thing. That's
I'm telling you, it's gremlin mode. It's a different person. It's a physical feeling that feels different. And it's weird because, like, with you, it's like there's a long fuse towards gremlin mode. Like, my parents know how to fucking light that thing and get it. Like, I could be in fucking holier than thou. Like, nothing can stop me. And my parents will just fucking poke, till they get me to a level of, like, as scared as them, you know? Because it seems like they don't want to join me in not being scared, right? Or they don't want to admit it. They're starting to join us in that. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, I mean, like, I went up there the other day just to grab some water, and I was being so quick and like trying to ignore, and they're like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And I'm like, no, I'm good. I don't know. And they're just like, well, did you hear what the, and then he says like, takes it into like, oh, your politics isn't going to get you. Let's talk about the family. And I'm just like, stop it. Stop. And I'm telling my dad, I'm like, you got to be a man. If someone fucks with you out in the world, you don't have to come back and cry to mom about it. She can't handle that shit. You know what I mean? And I literally went from being like in a great place, thinking I'm invincible, to like yelling at my dad to be a man and tell my mom she can't handle life. And like, I'm like, and it didn't even feel like me. And I went downstairs and I was just like, I just like stared at a wall for like 45 minutes. I was just like, I can't believe they want me like this. I can't imagine that they do, but I keep telling them, like, that's what you get when you...
When you poke at you, or like when you try to get you riled up or share how riled up they
well,
are.
when I'm saying, like, hey, with the initial shot, like, I'm like, I see what you're trying to do. I can't go there, though, today. Like, I actually have to I just have to keep my fucking sovereignty over my brain today. I can't be attacked like this. And I'm like, please stop. And then they don't stop. And it keeps going and keeps going. It brings out the worst in me.
When you get gremlin mode, like, I can't help but see you as a scared little boy.
That's all it is.
That's like,
my parents know how to bring that out more than anyone. I literally become like a 9-year-old.
With a sharp tongue. But, like,
yeah.
At the same time, it's like, ultimately, I can't even hold on to, like, anything you ever say to me as much as it, like, I'm like, oh, that hurt. And then I'll just be like, that hurt. Can you apologize? And I'll be like, I'm sorry. And that's we're like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm like a bucking bronco, and you just keep getting on there. You get tossed, and you get back on.
Well, I'm like a bull, like Taurus bull.
Yeah.
And you're like a crab who's, like, pinching me. And I'm like, stop.
Yeah.
You're annoying.
It's actually kind of hard for a bull to kill a crab. It's impossible for a crab to kill a bull. But we can certainly fuck with each other.
We'll certainly try.
Yeah, I mean, I always say to you, and it sounds like a broken record. I'm like, I'm doing my best, believe it or not. I'm trying. I really am. I'm very cognizant of my downfalls.
You're doing great, though. So you're doing great. What I got to the place of realizing, Sean, is I wasn't doing my best. Like, I was in a pattern with you of not doing my best because of how I relate to you and how I take it on and how I, like, dance with you, even though I know you're a scared little boy, because I'll just, like, I'll fight with you rather than just, like, let you process.
Yeah.
You know? And, like, affirm, like, hey, this is something for you to...
A lot of times when we're in the throuple dynamic, too, which I'll include Joey in when we're making these movies, like, you have a bone to pick with the other person and you don't do it. You know? You might have some things to say. Not even a bone to pick, but just some, like...
Yeah.
A layer of honesty that prevents you from just becoming a perpetual enabler of certain behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like, for example, with Mary, we're with her for 2.5 years. After, I don't know when, but you just decided to shut the fuck up and just kind of let her burn out her own energy. And, like, you didn't get into it with her. But there was a lot of frustrations and things you wanted to say that you never said or got to express. Mm-hmm. And I think the same happens with Joey in, like, a less...
consequential.
Yeah, like, we're in this, like, we're going to be friends with Joey the rest of our life, and, you know, we're doing our thing, and as much as you want me to evolve, like, he'd probably appreciate some feedback to help him evolve, too. I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but just the dynamic when the three of us are out there, and it's like, well, it's you even can yell at me, but you can't yell at Joey, and, like, sometimes I'm getting yelled at, I'm like, hey, I'm not the one, like, jacked up on coffee trying to be a comedian and saying offensive things. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but you're hearing it, but I'm usually not even telling you I'm mad at you. I'm like, yo, I'm processing this because, like, this is getting old. And I think that's even what happened in the car is, like, I'm in the back seat, you two are in the front seat. There's very much a boys dynamic, and, like, if there's any girl who's a boy, it's me. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Totally.
So,
but it's good for the boys to know, like, you're still a girl. And
I'm still a girl, and if you talk bad about girls, like, it's gonna fucking hit me at some point, and I'm gonna hit it like a wall of, like, all right, can we stop?
Yeah.
Like, girls are not the worst, and it's making me feel like you guys are fucking the worst for needing to,
I've never said girls are the worst.
No, I know, but it could be like a comedian, like...
Yeah.
You get into a comedic
Well,
thing.
that's partly, like, part of my frustration. It's like you tune into fucking 3% of a running joke, and you're like, stop it, stop this, and I'm like, oh, okay, Like, I don't even know. I'm a little scared to talk to Joey now because I'm not even sure what in particular that was.
I was just on my period.
Yeah.
And it's real.
Yeah.
I get very irritable.
Yeah.
But the word that I've been looking for this entire podcast is regulate.
Regulators. Mount up. Remember that?
No, what is that?
Warren G.
Regulators mount up.
Mount up.
Mount up.
Yeah, regulators.
Is it a song?
Yeah. From the G-Funk era.
How's it go?
I don't know. We'll listen to it after.
But like, that's the whole thing. Is like, I feel like our dynamic doesn't put like, oh, Sean has an opportunity where he needs to regulate his own emotions right now.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm like, oh, something's wrong. I'll fix it. I'll fix it. Help me. I'll fix it.
And it's so not what I need to make the big steps up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's where I had a big awakening. And it's not about you and you changing. It's like, hey, I'm enabling your inability to regulate your emotions because I'm like a puppy. Like, hey, like, what do you need me to do differently? I'm so sorry. Like, what? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll do better. I'll do better. I'll do better. I'll do better.
Our friend Nika was telling me the other day, she was like, I think I'm like starting to figure out how to like get behind the control panel of my life and, you know, regulate certain things and allow for this to happen and dial up the dopamine and this and that. And I'm like, that's the goal, you know? And at times when I'm my best, I am behind the control panel. I know how to regulate my reward system. I know how to, okay, here's when I need exercise, here's when I need meditation, here's when I need dopamine, here's when I need to interact with other people and get serotonin and all that stuff. So she kind of put that in my head, and that's now more of like an ever-present kind of goal for me. Is like, and I can feel when I'm not behind the control panel.
You're so good at it that the balance is that sometimes you're really bad at it.
Yeah.
And that's just like, that's human nature. Like, if you can't be, we're balanced. And like, that's why I'm like, you're balanced. And I'm not saying I'm going to be a perfectly balanced person. I'm saying you're an adult who should want to know how to regulate these emotions in your own way and process on your own time. And I think you do. And I think that we just hit a wall, and it's good. It's a good wall to hit. It's like at the right time, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I hit a wall of being like, I'm sick of you telling me that I'm distracted or not present, that I'm just like I just prioritize wanting to be more present and figuring out the ways that I can do that, because I don't like that reflection from my partner that I'm like, oh, you're not here. Like, because the thing is, when we're here together, we have so much fun. And I understand why it would be frustrating to have a partner who like is an escapist or a daydreamer or...
Well, mainly just in the moment-to-moment interactions. Like, here I have your full attention, so I think I could make you laugh. You know, I could make you really intrigued. I could impress you. And when you're kind of neither here nor there, or like, you know, have an email on your mind or trying to get back to so-and-so, and I a lot of times don't know what you're doing. So I'm just like, oh, Cass just doesn't think I'm funny. So, you know, a part of me gets lost a little bit just because we spend so much time with each other. You know, like, I think, you want to know an example I've probably never even talked to you about?
Sure.
Is, like, I always grew up like, you open doors for women. You know what I mean? Like, it's just it was just like a nice thing to do, you know? So it always like open the car door, like for all my girlfriends or whatever. I would open the door, let them in, close the door, go around. And then when we got someplace, you know, I would try to let them out or whatever. Just like like old school, but just like a little thing I do. And I remember like a year into our thing, I was like, Cass has never acknowledged this once. I don't think she knows I'm doing this or cares. I don't need to do this. I'm not going to do this anymore. So like this little like Southern gentleman in me, that I picked that habit up when I was down in Florida, like dating Kathleen, my first girlfriend. It just kind of like, all right, well, that's just not really a thing because it's not forecast really. And that's not like, oh, you should be sad or offended or whatever. It's just like not your thing. But I don't want my sense of humor to get lost in that.
Yeah. You
know what I mean? And from drawing from that same type of example. And that's when I get scared. That's when I get really scared. I'm like, yo, I know I'm with someone that deeply appreciates me, but like, fuck, Cass, sometimes you're just fucking out to lunch.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. I don't know if that's something you struggle with me as much. I feel like you know, when you're trying to get my attention, you get it.
Totally.
You do.
Totally.
Yeah.
Too much. I have a lot of your attention. And I think that's like yeah, I remember that you used to open the doors, and maybe, I do remember it. I feel like I don't remember being unappreciative of it, but I also kind of was like, like the energy was probably like, you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
And
It's just a nice thing. It's a little serotonin microdose.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that a way to get serotonin? Is feeling like you're doing the right thing and serving people and
Totally.
Yeah. That's all it was.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I'm sorry that I like killed that part of you.
I get it elsewhere.
Okay,
it's all good. I think you appreciate that I'm Mr. Clean.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do the laundry, fold it up, clean the floors, make the beds, wash the sheets.
Yeah.
Keep everything tight.
No, I appreciate a lot of things. I'm
making my pitch for you to stay with me. I'm like, I do stuff.
No, I've only ever gotten in fights with you and been like, if this fight continues, in 3 months we're breaking up. And then we're best friends.
3 minutes later we're best friends.
I know, so it never sticks. But
Yeah.
I'm like, this is not going to be my life. I'll get through this job and then we'll see where we are.
Mm-hmm.
And it always is like connected to whatever we're in the midst of, and we move the energy so fast that it never lasts.
I feel like we can talk openly about these struggles because we don't struggle on the higher plane, like the soul level with each other. I feel like there's a contract and an agreement that is kind of beyond our personalities and stuff. I was telling Maddie and Sarah the other day. They came and visited us. That was so sweet. Shout out to Maddie and Sarah, Collective Focus. I was saying when Gene Ween tried to quit Ween, Dean was just put out a statement. Is like, I'm sorry, you can't really quit this. This is a contract that we're in together. Not a legal contract, but we've been making music together since we were 14. We're brothers, bro. You can't leave this thing. Take a break. I don't know. Who knows if we'll ever play another show again, but you're not out of Ween.
Yeah.
You can't quit Ween. So that's how I feel about us. It's just yeah, come and go as you please, which we don't choose to do. But yeah, this is it's much more sacred and can't be fucked with, and it's a soul agreement. And I think that's why we could talk about this stuff so openly, because it's small potatoes to such a big thing.
Also, it's always miscommunication, and the reason we get so frustrated is because I want you to feel safe when I'm driving.
Yeah.
And I want you to trust me in all these capacities, and I want to be present with you. So anything you say to me or anything that you get mad about, I'm like, I agree with you. Just stop yelling at me about it, or stop fighting with me about it, or stop complaining about it, because I'm sorry and I agree with you. And yeah, no, I've definitely seen you through space and time, and beyond space and time, where I can kind of see our whole relationship and the dance that we do together, and that we're gonna do it, and that the way that you, when you're on psychedelics, you see someone as old and young and everything in between, and the good and the bad. And
that's why you got to be careful with that psychedelic eye gazing.
Yeah.
Because you can really see it all. It's like looking into a crystal ball.
Yeah.
Let me hit this fucking deb.
I'm really happy in our relationship. I'm sorry that I ever bring up stuff sorry that I'm even airing out this. It's not an ultimatum, but this fight that we had, and making it seem like you're out of control. Just you're not.
I also recognize in myself, so I can recognize it in you. Sometimes you just need to hear yourself say something. Sometimes you need to hear yourself say something really big and consequential, and try to, inspire some sort of reaction from somebody.
You're always like that, and I barely do that with you. Mm-hmm. You're always like, Cass, get it fucking together.
Yeah.
And you give me these motivational speeches that I need, because I don't have much fire in my chart, and I'm addicted to you bossing me around energetically. And
when we talk about that, it's usually on the level of hey, don't let that person talk to you like that, or don't delete the line of the email that gets your fucking point across harshly.
Oh, yeah,
you
it's
know
always
what I mean? Like, come on.
It's like good stuff. It's always like, or it's like, pay attention when you drive, or like, it's always stuff that I agree with. And I think this is why Mare, even when stuff wasn't good, she like appreciated the relationship, because you're very good at looking at the big picture of someone and being like, clean it up. Tighten it up. And you can like see where and how in a way that like you can be annoying about it, but
only with someone that I'm with romantically. Besides that, it's like, you're in your lane, I'm in mine.
But the thing is, I always am like, I agree with what you're saying. I don't like how you're saying it. I don't like that you're saying it ad nauseum. I don't like that you need to say it so many times that I'm like upset. But like, I agree with everything that you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
But that was me for the first time in like our decade-long relationship being like, okay, I've aired out the dirty laundry of you are fucking out of control emotionally sometimes. But like, no, this is like, you have to get it together. You have to self-regulate. You have to regulate your own emotions and take on the burden of that, because I'm not taking that burden on anymore. But I do want to help you, so.
You don't have to help me.
Of course I do. I want to.
Just hold space and, I don't know.
Not being the defensive cunt like I am sometimes.
No, hold space and not coddling me if it seems like
oh, yeah.
That's what you want to do and it's not necessary, then don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I can get through things, and yeah, I want to figure out more ways to fight off the gremlin.
Or just be the gremlin.
No.
You don't have to, no, but like, just be it. Just like, you don't need to make the gremlin anyone else's problem.
That's what you're complaining about.
No, but because you make your gremlin my problem, because you're thinking I'm the reason you're a gremlin. I'm like, just be the gremlin. You are a gremlin. I am a gremlin. Like, do what I do when I have my period. I'm like, Sean, I'm going to be a bitch today. I'm on the edge. Everything that anyone's doing is annoying the hell out of me. Please give me grace. It's not about you.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, I feel like you can just be like, I'm a fucking gremlin. I'm losing my mind. I'm going to sit in the room and be a gremlin. And you don't need to make it my fault or anyone's fault. It's like, you are the gremlin. I'm the gremlin. I feel the gremlin I'm in presence of the gremlin.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because like, I think what happens is like, we push these parts of ourselves, or this like scared little boy of like, I need to, you are such a protector. And so you're fighting to protect yourself and fighting to protect that little boy. And you're like trying to control it. Like, okay, well, if only Cass could get this message and then make me feel safe, or whatever it is, or my parents would stop yelling, or whatever it is, rather than, I think just, and you accept the gremlin. That is part of like the hormonal roller coaster that you go on as a man, even, because I don't really understand how that works, but I know that being like really irritable is part of the roller coaster I go on. But because it's so tied to a part of the month for me, I can't say, like, it's so obvious that when I'm mad at you, it's not your fault.
Yeah. I have no excuse.
No, you have life as the excuse. Yeah. We all have the excuse. Like, life is, like you said, all the reasons you said before, that the stress of like being an artist, the stress of like keeping the wheels turning, the stress of having the creative ideas, the stress of putting a movie together that is like a very free-flowing documentary, of like having to deliver on something, the stress of like a million stresses that are all warranted. And I'm not at all trying to say you can't have bad emotions, but just I want you to love your gremlin and like be with it. Yeah,
I've been doing that. I've embraced that little fucker. Yeah. Life is a highway.
Yeah.
I want to ride it all night long.
God, this is so boring. I feel like people must be so sick of us talking about our gremlins. But I feel like everybody has them.
They can not listen. That's fine. But we needed to have this talk. So.
Yeah.
I wouldn't worry too much about them.
Okay.
You know. Do you ever get upset at a podcaster?
I don't know.
Or you're just like, this conversation isn't for me this time?
Just turn it off, yeah.
Yeah. There's usually something to take away from what we say. I hope.
I hope. Yeah. I just want to say I really love you and I appreciate you, and I'm sorry that I bring attention to your gremlin.
Oh, it's attention seeking.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, there's like like I was talking about before with like I feel like our culture, like our reward systems are so fucked up. Like we're just chasing euphoria all the time and just chasing that feeling of a reward, and like there is the negative version of that where that is a reward system for my little gremlin to be able to say stuff.
Yeah.
To feel like I have the excuse to tell someone how it is.
Yeah.
It is a fucked up reward system that I have to stop. I have to get behind the control panels and realize like that's not the way to do it.
What do you think? It's like righteousness gives you some dopamine or something?
I chemically couldn't fucking tell you, but it feels like it's relieving a pressure inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like a twisted narrative, a plot line no one else has seen.
Yeah, right.
And I'm going to expose it right now.
That's what I'm saying. You get the negativity bias where you're like, I see it, Cass. I see things for how it really is. And I'm like, you're in a hellhole right now.
Yeah.
And you're making it so you need me to see your hellhole.
Yeah, yeah. But there's definitely ways to turn that around. Like, for example, go for a walk, breathe, just meditate, spend some time by yourself. Like, it does alleviate. It does, like,
service,
naturally.
I think, is a huge one. And, like, that's, I think.
Well, in that moment, it's service to yourself. If you can figure out, like, I'm so fucking angry right now, I need to go exercise, or I need to take my time and make myself a beautiful meal, or whatever it takes, For me, like, putting together a Church of Chill episode helps. Like, okay, I'm going to go find some songs that work well together to try to invoke a new vibration that I'm not in right now. That helps me a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're really good. I don't always relate well to you because obviously we trigger each other, but I feel like you do really well when I like invite you into having a better time. I'm like, we could have a better time together.
You're great at that.
Rather than me being like, stop it.
That could apply to anyone in any friendship, relationship, anything, If someone's fucking lost in the sauce, rendering out a universe where they're not is very nice and welcoming. And sometimes the gremlin is like, get that fucking thing away from me. I'm not done yet.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it is. For the most part, I think 100% of the times I join you in that place. It just might be on a slight delay. Sometimes the gremlin needs to fully flex.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what can you do? I'm trying to talk about stuff I don't really even think about.
I don't really.
This
think
is our
about
first time talking about all this stuff, and but I want to do better, and knowing there's a control panel to get behind, and all that is just figuring out how to open up new chemical portals. Like what's the acronym? DOSE. Mm-hmm. What is it?
Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins.
Yeah. Those are what we're going for. Those are like the chemical portals. That's what when you're behind the control panel. That's what the stuff you're trying to trigger and release. And how do you get that stuff? How do you get dopamine?
There's a lot of ways, but the healthiest way.
Sex, cold shower.
Yeah. Oxytocin, hugs. Affirmation, hug yourself. Serotonin, laughing.
Service.
Endorphins, exercise.
Yeah. There you go. That's what the control panel is made of. So figure out how to get behind it and do those things, and figure out what the oxytocin release does for you and when that's appropriate in your day, when the dopamine releases are good for you and when those are appropriate in your day, when the serotonin, when you need that, and the endorphins. And you can figure out how to work with. That's kind of what I'm, when we have like a couple weeks down like we have right now, that's what I'm working on, is like trying to figure out a regimen that this is what I can do when I'm not being bothered by a million other things. This is what I can do to ensure a great day and ensure good behavior so you don't leave me.
I'm never going to leave you.
I'm never going to leave you.
You know I'm never going to leave you.
Yeah, but that's manipulative too, for me to sit here and be like, oh, like You got to do what you got to do.
Well, I told you I would. If I thought that you would be better served by someone else, I would leave you.
Yeah. You'd probably line me up with the person.
I would. I would. I'd get you a real nice girl.
I know.
And I'd be like, all right, she's going to take care of you from here on out. And I'd try to give her as many of the cheat codes as possible.
Absolutely.
But that's what, that's where I'm
That's what Yoko Ono did for John Lennon for his lost weekend. He had a year and a half where Yoko and John just couldn't stand each other anymore. So she set him up with the housekeeper, the babysitter, May Pang, and sent them off to L.A. She said, just take care of him and keep an eye on him. Make sure he doesn't do anything crazy or get in over his head.
Wasn't that when he was going crazy with Harry Nilsson?
Yeah.
So he was fucking
They
on
were going
one.
nuts. They were like, I mean, he calls it his lost weekend. They were just going crazy. But Yoko was like, bring him back to me in one piece. And then they reunited a year and a half later.
Yeah.
Till the end of his life, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm never going to leave you. Like,
No.
You know that.
Yeah. I'm not going to leave you either. You're worth it. You're worth figuring out how to be a better person for.
Ditto.
And I think that's a good demarcation of whether you're actually in love or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just like the whole like regulating your emotions is like as much as I'm just like, hey, it's for you more than it's for me. You're suffering 10,000 times more than I am when you're in Gremlin mode.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
And
I want to try to be more present with you because I enjoy my time with you and I want to be here for it and I want to experience it and not be elsewhere.
Yeah.
Stormy.
Ooh, a little thunderstorm.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, we're gonna move it over. We're gonna do something for the Patreon. We have some stuff up our sleeves.
Okay.
We might do.
Should we reverse these and make this the Patreon?
Stop it. No. I think we're gonna do a filmmaker's commentary for American Juggalo.
Oh, okay.
I think that would be a good palate cleanser from this.
Okay.
Just remember the good times.
Okay. No, I feel so bad. Like
About what?
That I give you such a hard time on this podcast. Like, remember we went to a therapist and he's like, that you're like, she just keeps airing our shit out. And you're like, well, you keep making her do a podcast and where's she else going to say it or whatever?
Yeah. No, it's totally fine. I really don't care or resent you. It's like, it's kind of the gift of doing a podcast is like, you're less precious.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I have to do this to keep the filmmaking pimp tight. Yeah. I have to let people know who I really am and what I'm really about.
I mean, you're very loving and sometimes you get scared. I think that's like how I would wrap it up. That's how I feel like I am too, I feel like I'm very loving and then sometimes I get scared. And there's probably like a lot of people that would relate to that. Like you're very loving until you get scared. And that's just still love wanting to come out, wanting to be loved,
Yeah.
Feeling scared that you're disconnected from the love is like this self-fulfilling prophecy sort of thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, cool. We'll wrap it up.
Join us for more on patreon.com/churchofchill. Your support on there honestly means the world to us. If you're still listening, thanks for getting through this with us and letting us air some of this stuff out. So hopefully we can evolve. But yeah, patreon.com/churchofchill. It really does mean the world to us. Deeply appreciate all of our supporters. On there you can find our Church of Chill radio show. You can find bonus podcasts. You can find my podcast with Joey. That's only on Patreon. It's called Boys Club. And you get access to our Discord community where that's how we talk to the people that listen. And that's how they meet each other. And that's how the community grows. So thanks for joining us. Peace, love, and magic.